Hello again, it's Carl here from selfsufficienthub.com. So we're in my garden today and we're going to be talking about tip layering. I'm, as you probably know, trying to work towards self-sufficiency. So we're trying to produce all the food that we eat, but we're also trying to do it without spending any more than we absolutely have to. So one of the things I'm talking to you about today is something I'm very passionate about, and that is basically creating free plants, free food. I'm all about that. So what we've got behind us here is a cranberry plant. It is late February, so it's very, very early spring / late winter. We've had quite a mild winter, and as you can see, this is just starting to come into bud. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this one cranberry plant and we're going to turn it into several cranberry plants. Now, I did buy this cranberry plant, but you quite often can come across a lot of the berry type plants on places like Free Cycle online. So that's where I got all of my gooseberries and red currants. So these are available for free, but what we're going to do is show you how, as soon as you've got your first plant, however you acquire it, you can use that to make as many plants as you want and ultimately produce you with as much food as you're going to want from that plant, but also an income. So let me show you what we do. So with cranberries, and this is true of almost every berry plant, any vining plant, almost anything that's got a woody stem, you can do something called tip layering, and it's the easiest way of propagating that I know, or one of them. The reason tip layering is so much quicker, easier and better than taking a cutting is because it doesn't force the cutting to go through that period of stress where it's rushing to develop roots, it's lacking in nutrients and water, because you're effectively the equivalent of the cutting when you're tip layering is always able to draw nutrients from the mother plant until it's ready, until it's already developed its roots and stuff. So it's definitely an easier method and a more successful method. Plants reproduce one of two ways, either sexually or asexually. Now, sexual propagation is done through pollination. So the pollen from one plant gets to the sexual organs of the second plant and it creates a new plant, a new seed or a viable seed or spore. Another way is asexual propagation, and that's where you basically produce a new plant from whichever part of the plant has the ability to do so. Now, this will vary from plant to plant. Watercress is an amazing one. Any single part of a watercress plant contains all the information it needs to make a new plant. Even the tiniest little scrap of a leaf of a piece of watercress plant, if you throw it in some water, it will root and create a new plant. So whichever parts of the plants have, effectively is the equivalent of stem cells, will have the ability to make roots, leaves, stems, etc. And in all of these woody type plants, so grapevines is another great example. All the berries I can think of, strawberries, raspberries, they can tip layer. So all we're going to do is we're going to just on the stem here, this is quite, you want to do it with fairly recent growth. We're just going to scratch back to damage it and just get below that outside layer of barky tissue. And then once we've done that, the next bit is we're going to place that in the soil. It's almost that simple. So how I like to do it, again, I don't like to spend any money, so I'm just going to make a peg off of this plant here. I've got a couple of little twigs that I've broken down. I'm going to use these to peg this stem into the soil. Now, being a cranberry, this likes a specific type of soil. It likes very acidic soil, so that's what we've got in this pot here, and it's also what I've got in these two little pots. But not all plants, or very few plants, are actually as fussy as blueberry. I said cranberry, I meant blueberry. Yeah, so blueberries like an acidic soil, so that's what we've got in this pot, and it's also what I've got in these pots. But not all plants are as fussy as that. In fact, very few are as fussy as the blueberry. So I've laid it out here next to this wall just because it's going to make it that little bit easier for us. This little graze here that you saw me put on there with my thumbnail, we're just going to bend this over and we're going to place it in the soil there. make sure it's right in the soil, and then we're going to peg it down with a piece of wood. You can see in there I've got the stem coming off the original plant, and it's pegged down in there by that piece of wood. And then I'm also going to add just a bit of weight to it for the first little while to help him stay up there and not get knocked off by my dogs or find his way out. We're going to do that with another one here, and then in a few months' time these will have rooted, at which point I'll be able to snip them here and we'll have a new plant. So there they are. You don't have to do this in pots. You could quite easily do it if you've got somewhere else and you've got the space, just to do it next to the plant that's growing out the ground into the ground, and then come along later and transplant them. But I'm probably going to sell those little plants when they're ready. So it's very important that everything in the garden pays for itself. So I originally bought this blueberry plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell the smaller plants just for a couple of pounds each. We've got a little shop at the side of the road where we sell our eggs, and we'll put them out there at the end of the summer, and we'll get a couple of pound each for a plant. And that way, not only do I get as many blueberries as I want, but they're free. So it's really important. So over here now, we've got some cranberries, and this is the tip layering I did late last season. So if I show you now, this one here, all I've done is exactly what I've just shown you. And this is the original stem here. And then this is the end of the stem. And in there, you can just see the piece of wood I used to hold it in place. I'm going to now just snip this one here. So I've just cut both of these. And here now, there we go. One new cranberry plant. Now he's only little, but of course he's going to grow on and do a fantastic job. This is the original plant. Sorry, no, there's the original. Here's the original plant stem, if you can see it there. That's the bit I've just cut. And in there is where I snicked the plant, held it down, and he's grown new roots. And now what we have is this nice new plant. So remember that when you're cutting, the original plant was back over this side, and that's drawing nutrients this way. It's only going to draw nutrients this way, so there's no point in me cutting it here and having this bit of the plant remaining and thinking that's going to be part of this new plant. It's going to come from there. The new roots are going to take the nutrients this way. So that's one, and here is two tiny little new cranberry plants. Now I'll let these grow on, they're no trouble at all, and then when they're a little bit bigger I can either transplant them out, or as with the others I can pop them down at the side of the road there and sell them for a small amount of money, just enough to cover the cost of the original plant. And we're going to do it again now with these here. Another thing to remember when you're using asexual propagation for plants is that you're creating an exact genetic clone. So it's only worth doing it with really good producers. So if you've got 6 gooseberry bushes, one of them produces lots and lots of really beautiful, tasty gooseberries. That's the one you want to do your propagating from. If you find these videos valuable, there are several ways you can support us. The easiest ones are just to like it and leave a comment down below, subscribe to our channel. Please do share them. If you know someone who you think might be interested, point them our way, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.